Hey guys, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create this image uploading system. Let me show you how it works. So let's go ahead and browse for some images. Now currently these images are only queued in the front end, meaning they are not saved anywhere. So if I click on the refresh button, they'll get deleted off the screen. So let's go ahead and upload them again. This time we're going to drag and drop them because we are going to show you how to not only manually input images, but also how to drag and drop them. All right, so here they are. I'm going to go ahead and click this button to upload them to my server. And now they are saved in the server. So if I click the refresh button, they're not going to get deleted off the screen. If I want to delete one of these, all I have to do is click on this X and then click delete. All right, so this image has just been deleted off the server. If I click on the refresh button, only these are going to show up. All right, so let me re-upload this one. And as you can see, this one is queued on the front end. It's not actually saved. So let's click on upload to save it. In addition, I'm also going to show you how to filter out certain things. For example, if the user tries to upload a PDF file, a text file, or anything that is not an image. I'm also going to show you how to filter out images that are too big for what we're willing to accept. For example, I'm going to try to upload an image that is bigger than 1 megabyte, which is what I'm willing to accept. I'm going to click upload. And this is going to give us an error message saying that this file is a little bit too big for what we're willing to accept. All right. So this series is 3 parts. Part number 1, we're going to show you how to upload images on the front end. Part number 2, we're going to show you how to create a server so we can save the images in the file system. And part 3, we're going to show you how to, instead of saving the images in the file system, we're going to show you how to save them in a database and in a third-party location like Amazon Web Services, so you guys can hopefully build an enterprise-grade application with millions of users. All right, let's get right into this tutorial. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that I want you to do is create a HTML file and a folder named CSS with a file called styles.css inside. All right, once you do that, go ahead and create a main element, and you're going to give it a class name of app. And in here, we're going to add a couple things. The first is a class with a name of header. Let's add a title called upload images. And we're also going to create a class called server message. And this is going to contain the messages that we get back from the server. All right, let's create another class with a name of input div. And this is where the user is going to drag and drop images. So let's go ahead and type drag and drop images here, or we're going to create a span and it's going to say browse. So let's create a class with the name of browse in here as well. All right, let's create our input, and this is going to be of type file because we want the users to be able to upload files. We're also going to give it a class name of file and an attribute of multiple. And this is going to let us upload multiple images. All right, let's also add an accept. And here we get to indicate what kind of files we want to accept. I'm going to go ahead and go with PNG, JPEG, and JPG. And right underneath here, we're going to create a form. Let's go ahead and delete the action. And we're going to give this an ID name of saved form. And this is going to contain our saved images, the ones that are coming in from the server, so the user can delete the images. That's why we need this form. Right in here, we're going to create a class with name of header. And let's go ahead and output a message. This is going to say saved in server. And we're going to add a button. This is going to be of type submit, so they can submit this form. And this is going to say delete. And right underneath here, we're going to create a div, or a class, I should say, with the name of saved div. And this is where the saved images, the ones that are coming in from the server, are going to display. Let's create another form. Delete the action once again. And we're going to give this an ID name of queued form. So this is where the front end images that the user is trying to upload over to the server are going to go. All right, let's create a class with a name of header in here as well. Let's output a message that says queued in front end. All right, let's create a button. And once again, this is going to be of type submit, and this one is going to say upload because the user is trying to upload these images onto the server. And we're going to create one more class with the name of queued div. So this is where the images that the user is trying to upload are going to display. All right, and that's going to be it for the HTML. So right under these main there, we're going to create a script, and this is where we're going to add our front end JavaScript. And please don't create a JavaScript file because you won't be able to process the images that are coming in from the server here on the front end. All right, for the CSS, I'll leave a link in the description to this Codepen so you guys can just copy and paste the CSS. All right, so I went ahead and pasted it in there. Now I'm going to right click and open with live server, and this is what you should have. All right, now let's go ahead and add the functionality so the user can queue their images here on the front end. But the first thing we want to do here is get access to all of the elements that we just created. So the first thing we're going to create is an array called queued images array, and this is going to hold all of the images that the user is inputting. All right, now let's get access to the saved form. So let's do document query selector, and we give that an ID name of saved form. All right, we also want to get access to the queued form. And also to the saved div. And the queued div. And also the input div. And the input itself. And also the server message. And one last thing we're going to create is an array called delete images. This is going to hold all of the images that the user wants to delete. We're not actually going to be using this array in this part of the project, but let's go ahead and add it in there just so we have it. All right, so in here, we're going to add the code for the saved in server images, but we're not going to create that yet. We're going to create that in part 2. This is what we're going to create. The queued in front end images, right? So let's go ahead and add that code in here. So the first thing we want to do is add an event listener to the input so the user can actually input images. So let's do input, add event listener, change, and we're going to store the images that the user inputs into this variable files. To grab them, we're going to do input files, and let's go ahead and do a console log so you guys can see. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just manually input some images. I'm going to look in my console, and as you can see, we have this object, and here's the image. So we're going to be storing this image inside of our queued images array. So to do that, we're going to create a for loop, and the reason that we need a for loop is just in case the user uploads more than one image. So let's push this image or this file onto our queued images array. And now we're going to do queued form reset. So we want to reset our form every time that the user inputs new images. And we also want to call on a function called display queued images. Now we haven't created this function yet. We will in a moment. First, we're going to add the drag and drop functionality. So let's get access to the input div, which is the container that the user can input images or drag and drop images into. And we're going to add an event listener of type drop. Actually forgot to add an E here for event. We actually need that to use ePrevent default. And now let's go ahead and do the same thing that we did for the input, which is store the images that the user uploaded inside of this variable files. For this one, we're going to use data transfer dot files. And let me go ahead and do a console log of that as well. All right, so this time I'm going to drag and drop some images. And as you can see, we have a length of 2 and it has the 2 images. All right, so let's go ahead and add these 2 images inside of our queued images array. So once again, we're going to use a for loop. But for this one, we have to check if the user actually uploaded an image, because unlike the input, which we can add an attribute that could only accept certain kind of images, when it comes to dragging and dropping the images, we don't have that luxury. So we have to use an if statement that checks if this particular file, if the type matches image. If it does not, then we're going to use continue, which is going to skip over that file. It's not going to add it onto our queued images array. And one more thing that we have to check is if we do not already have this image that the user is trying to upload inside of our queued images array. So let's do queued images array every, and then we're going to check if this particular image or every image within our queued images array is not equal to this particular file. If this is true, then we want to store it inside of our queued images array. All right, and once we're done with that, we want to call on display queued images. So let's go ahead and create that function now. All right, let's create a variable called images. We're going to initialize it to an empty string. And now we're going to go through each one of the indexes of our queued images array by using for each. And we're going to access each image and its index. And we're going to add that onto the variable we just created. And for each image, we're going to be adding some dynamic HTML. I like to create my HTML over here. It's a lot easier. So let's go ahead and create a class with the name of image and an image tag. For the alt, let's add image, and we're going to create a span. In here, let's add a onClick. So we're going to be calling on a function called delete queued image. All right, and we're also going to add a little x so the user can click to delete the image. All right, let's copy this, or cut it, I should say, and we're going to paste it in here. But first, you're going to add backticks. All right, go ahead and paste it in there. And in here for source, we have to add a URL for the image, but we don't currently have a URL for an image. So we have to create one, and that's actually very easy. So create the money symbol, brackets, and you're going to use URL dot create object URL, and you're going to pass it in the image. And for the delete queued image, you have to pass it in the index of the image that you want to delete. Otherwise, the program is not going to know. So let's pass it in the index here. All right, now that that's done, we want to display these images on the screen. So we're going to do queuediv.innerHTML equals images. All right, before we test this out, let's go ahead and create this function delete queued image. All right, so to delete this index from the queued images array, we're going to do queued images array dot splice. We want to delete this index and that index only, so we want to pass it in a 1. And now we want to call on display queued images once again, because we have just deleted something from the queued images array. So by calling this again, it's only going to display the updated queued images array. All right, let's go ahead and test this out. So I'm going to first manually add some images, and here's the image. Now I'm going to drag and drop some images so we can test if that's working as well. And sure enough, it is. So now if I click on this, it should delete that image. And I click on that, it's going to delete that. All right, everything is working good. Now let's add an event listener to this button. So when the user clicks it, we can send these images over to the server. So let's get access to that form, queued form, and then add event listener. And this is going to be a submit. All right, we're going to do prevent default. And the reason that we need this is because if we do not use this, as soon as we click submit, it's going to try to submit the form without checking for anything else. And we want it to actually call on a function before it submits the form. That's why we use prevent default. So the function that we want to call is one called send queued images to server. All right, let's go ahead and create that function. And in here, we're going to use the built-in form data class. So we're going to create an instance of this class, form data, and this is actually needed to send multimedia onto the server. So we're going to pass it in the queued form, and we also have to append each of the images that we want to send over to the server. So to do that, we're going to use queued images array. For each, let's grab the image and the index, and then we're going to do form data dot append, and then we have to append each one of the images. So let's do file, and then to access each one of the images, we're going to pass it in the index and then the image as well. All right, so now we can create a fetch request so we can send this data over to the server. So let's do fetch, and then we're going to create a route called upload in our server, and we're going to do that in part 2. And this is going to be a post method. And what do we want to send over in the body? We want to send the form data. All right, so now we're going to catch the response using promises. And if there's an error, then we want to catch it here. So if we're going to do if response.status is not equal to 200, then we want to throw an error. So we want to do response.status text because status text contains the error message as to why it was not successful. But if it is successful, then we want to do location reload. All right, let's do catch down here to catch the error and display it on the screen. So we want to display the error on the screen. So we're going to do server message inner HTML equals error. And we also want to change the color of the server message so it's red. So let's do server message style CSS text. And we're going to set that equal to background color. And let's change the background color to F8 D7DA. And we also want to change the color of the text to B7 1C1C. And that should do it. All right, so if we go back over here, nothing has really changed. We can still manually upload images. As you can see, they're here, and we can also drag and drop images. And there we go. All right, but if we click on this to try to upload these images, it's going to give us an error. As you can see here, method not allowed because we do not have a server yet. We're trying to send these images over to a server that does not exist. So that's what we're going to do in part 2. We're going to create a server. We're going to send these images over, and then we're going to save them, and then we're going to send them back to the front end so they can display here. So when you click on the refresh button, they're still going to be here because they're saved. Now these queued in front end images are not on the screen because these are never saved. All right, I hope you guys have a better understanding of how to upload images on the front end. And I really hope you guys watch part 2 so you guys can learn how to save the images as well. All right, I'll see you guys in part number 2. Thank you very much for watching.